This one here is the persona. Yeah? This one here is the persona. It's a part of the ego, right? But how can we understand how to model our personas when we can barely understand shit about other people? Well, we can try and understand ourselves. But how can you try and understand yourself without developing an inflated ego? Well, you can look to the worst parts of yourself and repair them. And then naturally, of course, the quality of your persona will improve, right? So, you got all the shitty parts of yourself that your ego doesn't perceive. You can draw like this. This here's the shadow. Shadow. Yeah? The shadow.
It's upside down. Fuck it.
It's a graphic organizer. The shadow. Okay? So you can clearly see how it all interconnects, obviously, with the themes of persona. But, right? But, then who are these two motherfuckers? Well.
Don't touch my screen.
Did I touch your screen?
No.
Okay.
I'm saying don't.
Okay, I wouldn't.
Someone point out that's not a graphic organizer, by the way.
Sure.
That's one shitty graphic organizer.
Well, I mean, let him make it.
Yeah.
So, well, what more of ourselves can we possibly understand? Now that we understand the shadow, the ego, and the persona. Well, what about when we misunderstand other people? Is that not us projecting? And this Freud and Jung came up with this idea of projecting your emotions onto other people. Happens surprisingly often, but it's not that often. But happens, right? So now, projections can be caused either by ego inflation or by the projection factors, right? Called the anima and animus, and I'll put them over here because they're connected to the persona, but not really like. So now you notice how they're outside of the traditional self, right? Because we don't really choose what these things are, right? I'll leave it. Yeah. This is my whiteboard. Yeah.
Why does it have to be white?
Because you can't put learning on black.
Sure you can.
God damn.
Let's get a chalkboard.
Chalkboard. Don't get me started on chalkboards. Chalkboards are broken animus projections. All of them. The whole lot of them are all garbage. They're just extensions of colonialism. Okay.
What?
Don't post this on your Snapchat, Chris.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just looking at my phone. It's just weirdly aimed towards you. That's all.
So these parts, everything outside of the ego, and even sometimes the ego, depending on how retarded how upset your character is, right? All parts of the unconscious mind. All right. So we don't want to perceive our shadow or the animus and anima, which are even farther away, right? And because of that, they're shielded from our perception. And that's why they do like dream analysis, or they do that thing where you like lay down, blah, 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 free association, and blah blah blah, and you got the Freudian slips of the unconscious or whatever, blah 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 blah. Yeah. So that's all trying to measure up the unconscious, right? And then Jung's like, wait a minute. Ideas are inherited along. I mean, that's not really, but something like that, right? Basic understanding. Is that ideas can be inherited through people, right? And that people, through like mythologies and stories, kind of develop, or no, their mythologies and stories develop in similar ways. So like, how in Greece they have thunder god Zeus, strongest god, and in Norway they have thunder god Thor, strongest god, and in Japan they have whatever the one I can't pronounce is. Probably strongest god.
What is it?
Probably.
How do you spell it?
right? Or
You don't even
it's
know the
little things
name.
like that, right? They've all got the all father, the tree all father, like Odin, or Kronos, and all those characters, right?
Those characters.
that
Okay.
that all develop synchronistically across like different generations in totally separate periods of time, like bows and arrows. How could you have a bow and arrow in Africa and a bow and arrow in Canada? How does it work? Well, Jung figured that because human minds are organized in particular ways, that they develop similarly, even in radically different environments, and that kind of led him to his psychoanalytic research, which were two entirely separate things that kind of like ended up converging, right? So he undertook.
I'm just waiting for this to end, and that's why Minecraft is boring.
No spoilers. So, so he undertook a psychoanalytic research of the unconscious mind, and by doing this, he understood all the psychoanalytic process kind of tries to map out your unconscious mind or whatever, with the help of an unbiased observer, and how they do that, and they eventually find that you're projecting figures. Also, the anima and animus are why gender is not fake, and why gender is real. Okay.
How many genders are there?
2.
You're goddamn right.
Well, this is so the animus, right? The animus is how women perceive men, and the anima is how men perceive women. And there's like a syzygy, and there's like and then there's the actual anima and animus thing. But it's complicated, and I don't care, so I don't actually know.
You don't care.
But yeah,
Just like
and
my pet.
they develop in how like gender roles work out, and hunter gatherer dynamics, but not exactly like that. Something along those lines. Yeah. And then the archetype. That's what they're called. They're archetypes. The anima and the animus. Right. So I mean I don't know if that's what they're. Something like that. So archetypes of the animus and anima, right, are the wise old man. Wise, definitely old man, and the caring and loving motherly figure.
Wash your fingers.
Did I touch it?
No, I'm just saying.
The caring and loving motherly figure, right? And they're positive. They're positive animus and anima projections. Right? But outside of all of this, this is the entire rest of the paper. You got the true self. I'll put it in all caps because it's the weirdest one. Right? So the self, as you can tell, I understand the center, and then I lose tracks and goes farther out. Okay. So the self, right? Is everything. Is not just everything you are, but everything you understand about things that are, and everything you could possibly understand about things that are, and they contain in fact your ideal progression of your ego. So it's the perfect version of you that is the self that is complicated, and there's all types of other shit. And if you get past Jung, everybody gets fucking confused and complicated, and post-Jungian theory hits a wall, and Greek is like, it doesn't even exist, roar. And then it
roar.
And it's like roar and science, and then social justice comes along, and the whole thing kind of gets like a clusterfuck once you get out here into the vague areas, But what they found is that by confronting your shadow and developing your persona, you've only got one part of the equation. That there are entire other maps of the self to be developed and tracked in similar ways, And so you got the animus and anima figures.
How long is this gonna go on for?
Enlightening you with wisdoms, so that you may, because the allegory for this would be you getting a good positive role model, and then he's like, man, you do have a shadow, you're a bitch. And then, but the fact that you already has a conceptual understanding of the animus, whatever the fuck these guys are, right, proves in fact that he has already unclouded of his shadow projections, right? So that's why Fuck you, Matt Pat. Bitch. I read a Wikipedia page. This wasn't that hard. God!
Please tell me you got the rest of that.
I did.